Kevin, would you mind, if it's possible, a short sort of answer on
what are you trying to say? I have
well,
two
I mean,
answers.
the question's kind of broad.
Okay.
We haven't really heard from you in the last while. Your team has been through an awful lot in the last 3 to 4 weeks. Emotions and games and community craziness and support.
Sure.
Can you just describe a little bit of your last 3 weeks and all the peaks and valleys that have presented themselves to you? I think a lot of folks would like to hear how it's been with you.
Well, it's probably been a lot like them. It's been a real exciting time. Again, since from the day obviously that the trade deadline happens, you kind of take a little bit of a back seat to anything that can be done moving forward. Your roster's set. For me personally, start focusing a little more on the future side of things and scouting, and you kind of sit back and enjoy what was we were hoping would be a real good ride, and the anticipation of the fight and the battle to make the playoffs, I think, was interesting at times. I think there was emotions that ran both ways. Some days you think, yeah, this is going to happen for sure, and then some days you go, geez, I sure hope it happens. Again, but in summary, just real proud, like real proud of that group for what to the point that they took it. And then, obviously there's a sense of emptiness here as well. I'm sitting here today as well, talking to most of the guys. I haven't gotten through, all of them yet. But again, it's you fight so hard to get that opportunity to play, and in the playoffs, and it just makes you that much more appreciative of how hard it is to get there, and then what it's going to take for us to continue to take the next steps in the organization.
I know you can't talk too much about pending free agents.
Yeah.
Considering what this team did, how close they are, how much of this team are you, or where are you most comfortable with how much of this team you keep together going forward?
Well, I like the group, and I think the group likes each other. So we're going to do our best to. We're obviously we have to sit back. We got to finish the meetings with the players. I got to get through the meetings with the coaching staff, and the different things. Certainly meet with ownership and discuss everything that is entailed. But that being said, I like those guys. I like the group in there, and I think that if we can keep as much as it together as we can, I think that's good. I think there obviously is going to be some change. That's inevitable, just given the amount of players and the transitions that we made. Plus, we have some guys in the organization that could be knocking on the door. But to sit here and put a number of who and what, yet there's still a lot of work that goes in. But again, I like the group, and I think that if we can keep a good portion of it together, that's important.
You talked about guys knocking on the door. I know you're a big believer in the draft and develop model, and I know every year is different. But can you give me like an average or something like that of what you would like to see in the perfect world? How many guys, young guys, are you bringing into the lineup per year?
There really isn't a set, determined amount. I think players make those choices for you in a lot of respects. Adam Lowry is the perfect example of a player like that, standing here last year at this time, and obviously they were going on a big playoff run. You still don't know, what's going to be in store. The summer, the work that they put in the summer, the preparations that they make for training camp, and then the impressions that they make in training camp as young players are very important. And it's the same message still that we imparted on some of these guys that we've had the opportunity to talk to already. It's like, you're going to find pretty quickly in this game that getting to the National Hockey League might be the easiest part of your career. Staying in the National Hockey League and taking the next steps into being the player that either we think you can be or you think you can be are really the critical ones. And until you get to have those experiences, until you get to feel the elation and the frustration, it's all just in your mind at that point in time. And, it's like someone asked me at one point. They said, what's it going to be like when once we made the playoffs? What's it going to be like seeing the the whiteout and the fan emotion? I said, what? I'll tell you when I get there, because you hear all those stories, and until you experience it for yourself, until you can be a player that has to fight his way through beating out veterans or beating out other young players. You know, those are the experiences that you get. Until you're a team that, you know, earns the right to get to the playoffs and then goes through those battles to try and get through the next round, you have to experience it for yourself.
You hear about the playoffs being a learning experience. From what you saw in that series, what did you learn this team now needs to compete at that next level?
Well, I think, you know, again, you bank on the players, you know, that are here, that they're going to continue to grow. We have a young enough leadership core that, you know, there's still room for them to grow in their game and their leadership in that room. You know, we do have some young players that pitted up against, you know, some experienced guys that had gone through those battles before. They're going to grow from that. They're going to learn, you know, the positives and the negatives that were, you know, both in their own game, but you know, in the team game. And again, you know, we've got a great leader in that room, in Paul Maurice as the coach, and you know, those guys are going to continue to, you know, to teach and to help you know, the players, you know, take that next step. But you know, to a man, you know, again, we talked to, you know, the guys that I have seen. You know, they appreciate what it takes, you know, to get there, and it's not so much the number of points. Like obviously 99 points this year was a real accomplishment, but you know, down the stretch, just knowing how close, you know, it is and how important it is. I think, you know, again, you want them to learn those lessons along the way, that it is the marathon of the season that ultimately gets you there in the end, and that's important. But you've got to be, you know, obviously ready to take your game to the next level when you get that opportunity to run in the playoffs. And nothing's ever guaranteed in this game. You know, you get an opportunity to reinvent yourself every day, and that's important.
With your free agents and maybe some possible free agents in the summer, what's your sales pitch to them as to why this is a good place to be?
Well, you know, I think, you know, again, sales pitch probably got a lot easier in a lot of respects. Just, you know, seeing we talk about the atmosphere, we talk about the passion, but there's no better, you know, there's no better sales pitch than what we just went through with, you know, with those two playoff home games. You know, so certainly, you know, the community came through, you know, in the best fashion possible. But you know, again, just talking to the group as a whole and individually, the guys enjoy, you know, what we have going on here. They enjoy the dressing room. They enjoy, you know, you know, playing for Paul. They enjoy, you know, the fact that you know, we have a capacity to get better. We're not a team that is in its cycle that you know, that's on the down. We're a team that's in its cycle that's on the way up. And you know, I think they're excited to be a part of it, as opposed to just being a part of the National Hockey League and being an NHL player. I think you know, the players feel that they can make a difference and that they are the ones that are making a difference. And when we bring a player into the group and having them, with all the trades that we made, and having them accepted the way that you know, that they were, it speaks volumes to you know, the type of family that we have you know, within this organization.
Kevin, a year ago, this time you stood up there and expressed your faith, pretty strong statements about Andre Pavlik being your #1 goalie. Today, and actually you said you and your coach would help the team play better, help him, he would help you. Today he stood here and said to us how important that was for him a year ago at this time, and it was a big factor in how he got through a season and was such a factor for you. Do you feel, vindicated's not the right word, but do you feel good about the faith you expressed, and would you care to reaffirm that today?
Well, you know, again, like you know, Andre played through some difficult circumstances this year, you know, in some situations. But you know, pro athletes have to learn how to handle those kind of adversities, and again, that's all part of experience, and that's all part of his growth, you know, as an individual, you know, from a personal standpoint, and his growth as a professional, as a hockey player. And we don't think Andre has reached his, you know, his capacity yet. We think there's still, you know, room for him to continue to grow, and we're excited to have him as our #1 goalie in the organization. We're really excited to have Hutch as a guy that you know, can push and continue to do the things that he's done. It's really remarkable, you know, what he has accomplished as well. And as a group, I think you know, the strength together, you know, certainly helped us get to the point that we're at. It's not just about, Andre being the #1 goalie. It's about, again, you really look back at why we, part of the reason why we were able to accomplish what we were is the strength that both of them had. And again, goalie is a tough position in the sense that, you have to have a little bit of selfishness because you want, there's only one of them out there all the time and you want to be the guy. But yet, you have to preach team, and you have to know that the ultimate success of the team is not just going to become, because you play 80 games. That you have to have someone else that that can play, and you have to be able to coexist. So, real excited with the goaltending opportunities for us moving forward.
Kevin, free agency in the draft and everything, and who knows what prospects will make the team and what won't. But you also have some contracts coming up like Andrew Ladd, Dustin, Byfuglien. Paul Murray spoke strongly about Byfuglien and his role on this team. Are you thinking about re-signing either of those two, or what's the process for those guys who have a year left but still contracts will be expiring?
The business side of this game never stops. Like it's, there's always, something next. There's always something that's deadline orientated, and obviously when you have, contracts and free agency and the such, you're making decisions now that impact, many years to come. So, there's lots of discussion going on, behind the scenes within our organization. The salary cap is always a moving target in this league, and I think I keep on talking about it every year. At the end of the year, like, it doesn't get set until only days before free agency, and that has such a ripple effect throughout the league as far as what you can do, can't do, what levels of contracts. But particularly in those two guys' situations, they're a big part of our team. They're a big part of our leadership group. They've been a part of this group since it's obviously moved here to Winnipeg. And I would hope, and I will do my best to continue to have them as a big part of our team for many years to come. I spoke at the onset when we asked about some of the RFAs and UFAs. I like the group. I like the core. I like the some of the prospects of the youth that's coming. We're certainly, we still need to draft well. We need to develop well, but we're getting an opportunity now to try and keep some guys together that we can, and maybe have some of the young guys that have to come in and really push someone out of a job, as opposed to try and force a young guy into a situation, or force ourselves to really look outside the organization to try and get other people. And we were very fortunate to be able to pick up Matty Perreault in free agency last year, so there are opportunities, but I want to try and do my best to take care of the guys at home here first, and see if that can really help us continue to take the steps beyond the ones that we took this year.
Again, all the question marks, it's just the end of the season, who wants to come back, who won't. But what do you feel, having seen what you saw, what you need going into next year?
Well, again, I think that we're a team, that has created, a good feeling amongst ourselves and a good identity amongst ourselves, amongst the rest of the league, and that, we're big, we're fast, we'll play physical, and I want to continue that trend. I think it's something that, is important. If you look at, some of the young prospects we have some good young skills, some good quickness. So those are things that maybe are on the horizon. But again, you want to continue to grow in the things that you're strong in, and find things that you can help. And I think that again, we had good chemistry down the stretch here, but if we can continue to get obviously bigger, stronger, faster, that's great. But I think we learned a little bit in the just the brief conversations they had with the coaching staff post series here, is that there's a quickness element that goes with confidence. I think that if we can become a quicker team and understanding what we want to do, a quicker team in making our decisions, along with being a fast team, I think those are things that we continue to evolve on. But again, it's we accomplished some things that we set out to do. We cut down on the number of goals against and the different things like that. I think that you need to be successful. I still like an offensive game. I think that if we can find a way to continue to increase that, I think the level of enjoyment from a fan standpoint will be even that much more enhanced. But it's there'll be some time for some reflection here that we really haven't had an opportunity to fully digest yet.
Surprised are you were swept?
Well, again, it's never the way you want it to happen. That's for sure. You try to draw upon some of your experiences that you had in the past, and when I was with the Blackhawks, we managed to sweep a series on the way to the Stanley Cup that we never thought that we were going to. And I know from that standpoint, when we felt on that side of it, we didn't feel it was a sweep in the sense that a lot of those games were close and could have gone either way in that series. Again, it's whether we won one or won two, ultimately you want to win them all. You want to move on. So, the disappointment level of not being able to continue, from 16 to 8 to 4 to 2 to 1, that's, certainly disappointing. But, again, the opportunity to win a game would have been, it was there, and it would have been nice to have that, to move forward. But I think you have to try and look at those experiences and again grow from it. And it hurts. It hurts not to get knocked out of the playoffs after putting what the efforts that those guys put in. But again, sometimes seeing the disappointment in those guys' eyes, seeing the elation when we made the playoffs was important. Seeing how hard it hits home when you're done, that's important as well. So 4 was tough. 6 would have been tough. 7, we'd have been sitting here. You'd have been asking me the question, what's it like to lose a game 7? And there's going to be a point in time where when you're going to ask me, what was it like to sweep? What was it like to win in 6? And what was it like to win in 7? And those will be the times that hopefully I'll say, again, looking into the players' eyes, the satisfaction was there, but it's not there today.
And over the last 3-4 years, you've said a few times that the plan isn't to get into the playoffs once, it's to get into a position where you're in the playoffs all the time, or at least competing for it. Are you there?
Well, absolutely, in the sense that that is our mandate. Again, when you put the season to bed, you go through all those iterations and you start planning for next year. And we said at the onset of this training camp we needed to earn the opportunity. You can't want to get in the playoffs. You can't expect to get in the playoffs. You can't demand it. You have to earn it. And that'll be the same process next year. You start out the 82 game slate on an even page as the rest of them, and it's about earning it along the way. And again, I think that I like this group, and I think they have the capacity to continue to earn it, along the way. The coaching staff, I thought, did a fantastic job this year in managing the highs and lows of an 82 game season. Again, you have to smooth out some of the bad times. You have to learn how to ride some of the good times. But again, I think with what we have in place here, that from our standpoint, we're gonna want to earn it each and every year, and I think there's a good possibility we can.
Andre's a veteran goalie with 300 plus games. What gives you confidence that he can make that next step, and that makes you think he hasn't reached his potential yet?
Well, I think in goalie years, he's still a relatively young goaltender. I think that just seeing the transformation off the ice of what he's done or had to do to become a better pro, and I think that all the players, there's a process that they go through. They're very talented players in their own rights from a talent standpoint that they possess, but to be an upper echelon player in the National Hockey League, there's other things that have to go in it, and most of those things are learned. Either they're learned through experience, learned through failures that you overcome and move forward with, and again the successes that give you that reinforcement that I'm on the right path. So Andre's no different than any other young player that gains the experience as time goes on. You have to earn it. You have to continue to do the things that have given you that level of success, and you have to want to push beyond that. And again, those are things that you see behind the scenes more so maybe than you get the opportunity to see away from the dressing room and the game. But it's a process that I think those players have to go through, and he's one of them that has gone through some of that and has shown that improvement.
You personally really broke out of the mold. People had tried to cast you in the inactive GM, lots of activity heading up to the trade deadline. You mentioned it, the depth that you have on the team, the depth that you have underneath the team with people challenging 2 first-rounders this year. Having all that depth in all those areas, what opportunities does that open up for you to, maybe pull off a big trade, package up one of those first-rounders, move prospects, move people you have? Is it more than it was in the past?
Well, I think that, again, you're approaching everything with the same mindset that you always have. You're open to trying doing something. Now, again, there has to be a good fit. Like, you don't just trade the draft pick because you want to make a trade or bring in another player. I think that for us, we've acquired some players. I think first and foremost, I have to see what the opportunities are to keep some of that group together, see what some of the holes are that we might have to to fill, and then you have to look internally to see if there are options internally, and then you always keep your ear to the ground to see if there's opportunities to make a trade that the fit that you, even though you like the fit in here, you see that might be a better fit or move forward if it's an area of strength. The thing that really is I guess exciting for us is that we're turning a lot of guys pro this year. We're taking that draft and develop model from the draft into the development stage for a lot of them, and that process in and of itself is a slow one. And so players that we drafted in 2010 are now getting the opportunity to maybe turn pro here and see where they fit in the model of becoming players at this level. And a guy like Ben Schrott's a perfect example. It takes years of seasoning for some, but when they get their opportunity to play, it's gratifying to see them take that next step in the sense that they've earned that right to get there. It wasn't given to them. They've earned that right to say, okay, you know what, we need to make room for him, or we need to find, we need to make a move because this person is ready. And that's when you start to get depth and strength in an organization. And that's where, if you look at the franchises that have had success year after year, it kind of goes back to your question there, Paul, like, can you keep it going? If you can establish that group, and you can establish that level of expectation and accountability amongst that group, and then you have people that keep pushing that level higher and higher and higher, that's when you become a team that has to be reckoned with each and every year. And I think we're on the way into that process. Now, it doesn't guarantee you that you're going to be in the playoffs each and every year. We've seen that with several organizations that made the playoffs last year. But all you can do is internally, take the steps to continue to have that internal push, that internal competition. The more players that we can have that are surprises at training camp, the easier it is for us to continue to sit here and say, we need to keep pushing that bar higher.
Kevin, the salary cap is set to be staying flat. I even think I've heard recently it may go down slightly summer. How's that going to affect the summer that's ahead for you?
It's interesting. The salary cap, obviously, until it's set, I think there's going to be a lot of speculation as to what happens. There's some mechanisms. Obviously, a lot of it's tied to, the